And now, please welcome Mr. Carl Weathers. Awesome. Right there, sir.
Wow, thank you. A standing ovation for just walking out. I love that.
It's great. It is so excellent to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. By the way, I love your glasses.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
That's a freaky color, man. I love that. It's like you can't miss those babies, right?
Yeah, it's a thing.
Well, hello. I got to just say hello, everybody. Thank you so much for showing up for this conversation. I have no idea what we're going to talk about, what we're going to say, what we're not going to talk about and not say. So
it's your time on
take it away. That's
all
I
right,
gotta say.
absolutely.
Take it away.
Would you like to get to some questions from the audience?
If that's what you want to do, let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's head right down here. Take it away.
Hi there. I'm going to go really old school because I was watching TV lately.
You're scaring me already now because old school, I can't remember that far back.
We were on Good Times playing the jealous husband with
Old school.
the painting.
Old school.
Do you still got the painting?
I never had the painting, unfortunately. I was a fool when I was a young actor. I should have held on to some of that stuff, right? Because today it'd be worth a fortune. But no, I don't. I never did, but I remember that episode so well because every once in a while, I run into JJ, you know? And Jimmy's just one of the sweetest people. And so we just kind of reminisce a little bit, but you know, he's always on the road and I'm doing what I'm doing, but it's kind of nice to remember back when. And that was one of the back wins. Yeah.
All right, over here to the right, we've
To the
got a
right.
question for you.
First off, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And my question is, with the original trilogy, did you watch it growing up, or do you like the newer stuff of Star Wars?
Well, first of all, you know when Star Wars first came out, I didn't get it, to be honest with you. I was one of the people who just went, okay. But over the years, when you see what the kind of lore and how well it was all put together, orchestrated, the stories are stories that can just touch anybody, and they're about us as human beings, even though they're set out in a galaxy far, far away, right? ... But no, I think it came to me really kind of later. And even with The Mandalorian, you know, even though people say Star Wars, it has its own thing. You know, it's its own place out there in the galaxy far, far away. So I never really think of Star Wars, but we had the good fortune to have Dave Filoni as one of the producers, filmmakers, writers, who obviously came through that whole thing and was like at the right hand of George Lucas. And then we got Jon Favreau, who is brilliant and who kind of conceived the whole thing. And those guys know the Star Wars universe as well as anyone. And so, you know, you kind of pick it up because they're there with so much information. So I grew into a Star Wars fan, if you will, you know? Thank you.
Great. We have a question on the other side of the room, right over here.
Yes.
Hi, appreciate your whole career,
Thank
and got quick two-part question. What was your favorite role to play, and how do you feel about the Creed continuation?
That's funny, man. So many people ask the question about the Creed thing. I'm fascinated by that because obviously a chord was struck with people because they asked that question. First, the A part of the question. There is no favorite role, to be honest with you. I'd like to be able to say this one was the favorite and it always will be because. But I would venture to say that everybody in this audience has seen some of the work I've done. And so you make it the favorite because you go and you keep talking about it. And you watch it when it's on TV and you buy the DVD or the THC or whatever the thing is now, you know, the latest and greatest, right? VHS is long gone, so, you know. So there is no favorite. But I really, 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 honestly, from my heart, appreciate it when people appreciate the work I've done. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, you know? Because I think most of us in the entertainment industry, at least the quote-unquote old school people like myself, guys who are, you know, like on their last leg, part of the reason you want to do it is because you want to do something for people, you know? You want to touch people in a certain way. You want to entertain them in a certain way, and when they walk away from it, you want them to feel good about what you did, because it, you know, the line, people don't remember what you said, but they remember how you made them feel. To me, that's the mark of success. When people walk away and they feel something that you were trying to convey through that role, you know? So that's the whole thing about all of this, you know, the favorite and the this and the that. Hey, if you like it, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And question right down the middle, right over here.
Your character survived Rocky IV. How do you think he would have came back in Creed?
Wow, now you're asking me to be a writer. Which is okay, as long as I get credit and get the residuals, I'm okay with that. Wow, you know, that's an excellent question. I don't know is the answer, but I can tell you this. The Dancing Destroyer would have taken care of some people if he'd come back, you know? It would have been interesting to actually have Apollo Creed somehow miraculously appear, because in the world of filmmaking, how many people go off and die 10 times and still come back, right? So I don't know. I don't know what, I'm sure you've got a story that you can tell about Apollo Creed coming back. Write it.
All right. And
Maybe you'd help Michael B. Jordan's character.
Oh, help him. He doesn't seem to need a lot of help from me. Michael B. Jordan's doing okay, my friend. Okay.
there we go.
Yes.
All right, we've got a question right here.
Hi.
Hi.
I was wondering, how did you stay fit in between your the films you did? Because your physique was like, well, it still is amazing, but I was just wondering, what was your regimen?
Thank you so much for noticing.
You're welcome.
You know, as a young kid, I was an athlete, and I went through school from middle school all the way through 5 years professionally. Sports. I mean, it was, you know, for a young guy who was trying to stay out of trouble and be somebody and all that sort of stuff, sports was like the avenue, you know? And sports is kind of like the equalizer. If you can do it, you can do it. If you can't, it's obvious, okay? So I trained. I just trained. I stayed in the gym. I was out on the track and field area, running, doing whatever I could, and pushing weights and hanging out with people who did all that kind of stuff. And fortunately, I was given some ability, you know, by the maker, and given a body that could handle that kind of stuff, and had some parents with decent genetics, and as they say, the rest is history. That's the story, and I'm sticking to it.
All right. Question on this side of the room.
Yes.
Hello, sir. Thank you for being here. I loved your performance as Apollo Creed. So do you have a story of how they found you and got you into that whole series?
Everybody knows this story. Come on. You want to hear it again?
Yes.
Okay. Yes? Yes? Oh.
Yes.
You know what? I can beg with the best of them, you know, and look at the response. Well, again, I was a young actor, and it was 1975. A lot of people in this room were just maybe not even thoughts in 1975. And you know, you hear this phrase, cattle call. Well, in the movie business or television business, it's like there's a role, right? And they want to get this role cast, and they don't have the person that they like, or they haven't found that person. And they put out this call, and all these actors come in. And I read the script and went crazy, because reading that, I knew I was Apollo Creed. There was just no doubt in my mind, right? So I told my agent that. Now, she gives me the script, but she also tells me, I have to preface it with, but they're not interested in you. Basically, because you're nobody. They wanted like a star. They wanted a boxer who had a name. They wanted an actor who had a name. They wanted somebody who could make some draw at the box office. Well, as things turned out, they weren't blessed with what they were looking for. They got better than they were looking for, you know? Anyway, I went in on a Friday evening, and literally there was a room probably just about 3/4 of the size of this stage. And I mean, around the perimeter of the room, were all these folding chairs and guys sitting in the chairs who looked like they could, you know, beat Godzilla. I mean, these guys were put together. And some of them were actors I recognized, you know, from all the movies and television that I'd seen. And immediately, I thought, and I'm not kidding you, it's just one of those times where you go, I'm getting this role. I'm getting this role. Before I ever met them, went in and met, you know, the casting agent and the producers and the director and all that. So finally my name is called, and I go in, and they give me sides, which I'd read, of course, and prepared. And I go in, and I stand there, and there's a little kind of chatter going on before we start to read the sides. You know, sides are just whatever that script is for that scene. It's called a side. So eventually, you know, after a short time, I guess maybe 5, much shorter than this story is, by the way, a guy comes through a door, you know, door over to the side, and he comes in, and there's a table there and chairs, and he sits down in the chair, and they introduce him as the writer. And so I go, okay, and he's going to read with you. Okay, that's kind of rare. And so he's sitting there, and I'm actually standing up, you know, and I'm just chomping at the bit. I'm an actor who wants this job, man, you know, and I'm throwing my best down there. And at the end of it, the producers, Bob Chartoff and Irwin Winkler, and the director, John Avildsen, are sitting on couches and chairs, and they're kind of laughing, you know, and I'm trying to figure, what did I mess up? Because I'm thinking they're laughing at me. That's how uncomfortable I am and insecure I am. And I just kind of blurted out, you know, if you got me a real actor, I could do a better job. And the guy sitting down just kind of looked up at me like, oh, okay. I didn't know that that guy was Sylvester Stallone, who was going to be Rocky. Nobody said that to me, okay? And so as the story goes, you know, Sly basically has said, you know, I gave him the part because I wanted to take care of him, you know? He took care of me, okay. He took care of me. So that's how it all happened. I was just, you know, God smiled down, man. And it was one of those things where if you work hard enough and you have some patience and you have some belief and, you know, sky's the limit. I mean, you know, it can be anything and everything. It doesn't have to be acting. It could be being the best car mechanic in the world, being the best race driver in the world, being the best teacher in the world, being the best seamstress in the world, being the best anything, you know? If that's what you want, that's what you gotta aim for. So I got lucky. I got lucky.
All right, we've got a question for you right here.
Yes.
Hello, Carl Weathers. Great to have you with us.
Thank you.
All right, so this is a 2-part question. How would you describe, what was your favorite part about the experience on working on all of the Rocky movies with the cast and crew and Star Wars The Mandalorian? And do you still keep in touch with Talia Shire and Sylvester Stallone every now and then?
Boy, those are big questions. Both those movies were fantastic experiences. I mean, all the way through. You know, everything is not going to be like gold at the end of the rainbow, you know? Sometimes it's just a struggle, man. But a part of what's always fascinated me and what continues to fascinate me and that I appreciate is the process. You know, people talk about that a lot. But there's something about trying to do something as well as you can and trying to be the best that you can be at what you do. That process of going for that is a part of, I think, how greatness is made. And it's not about, people applauding you or you somehow putting yourself above someone else. But if you can't find that thing that turns you on and work to be as good with that as anybody could ever be, then do something else, So that's been the joy for me with those movies and everything else I've done, and some of it hasn't been very successful at all. Some of it has been like, oh my God, what happened to us there, But, those two movies in particular, or those two experiences, Mandalorian and Rocky, there's so many great people that you get to meet and you get to work with and that you learn from, and those have all been learning experiences. Tally, Sly, Bert, every once in a while, you come across people, because we all have our lives, families, careers, doing what we're doing, and don't walk around hand in hand, But Los Angeles, as big as it is a small place. You run into people constantly. So I see them, love them. Were it not for being a part of that, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you now. I might be the guy in the booth at the theater taking tickets. You know what I mean? But it's been a great ride, man. It's been a great ride.
And we got a question right on this side of the room,
Yes.
this young man.
Hi, I just wanted to say that me and my family loved you as the Roland Chubbs in Happy Gilmore, and I just wanted to ask what it was like working with Adam Sandler.
Oh, thank you. Funny experience, really funny experience. Comedians and people who really are rooted in comedy, man, they are an amazing bunch because they're just funny people. So you can be in situations throughout the time where you're shooting, and if you almost just kind of give over to it, you find yourself doing things that you would never have imagined you'd do. Because if you get it's kind of like getting on a treadmill and people are turning up the speed, right? Well, if you continue to walk at the same pace, you're gonna fall on your face and maybe hurt yourself. Well, when you're with those comedians, man, they make you up your game and they make you ramp up and get speedier and do whatever the thing is that's necessary to kind of hang with them. So it was not only a great experience, but I really enjoyed being around them. And Adam is kind of a wacky marvel. He really is, really wonderful entertainer, performer. And I was treated really well in that group. And then I've done other things with them, So really, one of the things some people know, Adam keeps a lot of his friends involved in all that he does. So that company is kind of like a group of friends that he's been with forever, and family and all that sort of stuff. So it's nice being a part of something like that.
Got a question for you right down front here.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I was just wondering, how was your experience in making Predator, and who was your favorite director?
Wow, that's a good question. The experience was insane. I mean, it's a group of guys in the jungle, sweating, scratching, doing what guys do. You don't have to worry about makeup because you're not going to have it on you for very long. It's going to run off. And the script was a really good script. The writers were fantastic. It's almost like kismet when something like that comes together, because it wasn't one of the most expensive movies, but you had one of the best producers in Hollywood, Joel Silver. And you go on IMDb and look at the stuff this guy has produced. I mean, it's insane, the movies he's produced and how much money they've made and how big they are. And then you had other people, like John Davis was involved with it, Marvin Davis's son, who is a big producer himself now. Who else was producing? Larry Gordon. He's an icon, ran a studio at one time. And of course, that movie had Americans in the crew, Australians in the crew, and Mexicans in the crew. All shot in Mexico. Yeah, all shot in Mexico. I think we were like 2 months, 2.5 months, something like that. And McTiernan, who, I gotta tell you, all the madness that's unfortunately gone on with his career, that man's a hell of a director. That guy knows the camera and lenses as well as anybody. And then he had to deal with us knuckleheads. So to pull it off is amazing. I mean, it really is, you know? It's kind of one of those deals like you had to be there because there's just no way you would think you got, you know, like 6 unruly puppies and you're gonna actually get them to pull a sled where you need it to go because they're working together, you know? But man, between McTiernan and Joel Silver and just the group of us, we got the thing to the finish line, you know? It's one of my favorite experiences just because of that, because of how crazy it was in some ways, and at the same time, it was like being on an athletic team. I mean, you know, guys just step up when they need to step up, you know? And yeah. I mean, I can't say enough about that experience because, man, when you get that many people together in those different cultures and those different languages and the DP was Australian, brilliant DP who's done a lot of. I mean, it was just amazing how it all came together and worked so well. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Oh, thank you.
Another question from down front.
Yes.
How did you first find out that Apollo was going to die in Rocky IV?
Why do you want to ask me that question? We were going up the hill, now the guy wants to pull me back down. Go ahead, man, I'm sorry.
No problem. I just wondered how you found out about it and how you felt when you first heard that was going to happen.
Well, how did I really find out about it originally? I think I found out about it when, I think my agent at the time told me, I think. But the thing I remember for sure is when I got a call from Sly, or I called him, I don't remember what, but you know, we were talking about it, and I told him I was in, and I swear he said, "Guess what? You die." What? That's how I found out. It wasn't what I wanted. And certainly when we look back now, you know, in retrospect, man, Apollo Creed, you know, that's a monster character where that could have gone. But, you know, hey, fortunately, there have been other things that have worked really well, so I got no complaints. Got no complaints.
This little lady right up front here to your right has a question.
Yes.
I want to be in a movie. Do you have any ins?
Hook her up with your agent. She wants to be in your next project.
God. Look at this with the green hair and everything. You definitely could be in the movies. There's no question about it. Do you seriously want to be in the movies?
Yes.
You do? Okay. All right, I'm going to be straight with you. Okay? How old are you?
10.
Wow. I love dreamers. It's just fantastic at 10. I wish I could have dreamed like that. Anything is possible. That's the first thing you got to know. Anything is possible. Movies are possible for you right now at 10. So if that's what you really want, good to focus on it. Good to work hard for it. Good to be patient because it doesn't necessarily happen when you want it. But it can happen. So that's number one. Number two, no matter what, even if you've got a movie tomorrow, okay? Get good grades in school. A lot of actors, bless them, are very talented, really good looking. They're kind of like a bright pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and everybody sort of just goes right to that. And a lot of them don't last. So if you have that education, you don't have to worry as much as somebody else who doesn't have it. Because if they don't have that education, or if they don't have something that they can really, really, really depend on, you gotta run scared a lot of the time. Because what happens if you don't get that role? What happens if that movie or that television series doesn't do well? What happens if the pandemic hits? You never know. You can't control all that. The only thing you can control is what you do. So first and foremost, get that education. And while you're doing that, work on that goal, being an actress. All right? So I'm going to be looking for you. What's your name?
Eliana.
Eliana what?
Eliana Bonilla.
What's the last part?
Bonilla.
Bonilla. That's a cool name. That's like a marquee name. Say, I want to ask everybody, Eliana, could you stand up? Come over here, would you? Would you mind? Come over here. Come on up. Come on up. Now there's Eliana. Let's give her a round of applause.
Excellent.
See, you can get used to that. Get used to that applause, all right?
There you go.
All right.
Question right down here.
In all the multiple fight scenes, do you have any stories of maybe where you accidentally got clipped, or somebody gave you, or maybe you clipped somebody?
How much time do we have?
Good one.
You know, look, the funny thing about all that is with guys, again, it's like with Predator, right? Accidents somehow happen. You know, the other guy knows what he's supposed to do, you know what you're supposed to do, and somehow he accidentally knocks your tooth out, you know, breaks your nose, does whatever happens. So there are too many to recount of the accidents. But you know, the other side of that is, if you can accidentally hit me, I can accidentally hit you. So you kind of keep them honest that way, you know what I mean? Just one more time, okay? One more time. And you know, there's a lot of respect there too, so it's not intentional a lot of times, but the accidents did occur, yeah. They occurred there, they occurred in Predator, they occurred too many times in too many television shows and everything else. But yeah, it happened. It happened.
Got time for a few more questions.
We're right back here behind the column here.
Oh, here we go.
Firstly, I want to say I'm glad you got your hand back from the alligator.
Makes two of us.
Is there any genre that you haven't worked on that you'd like to work on, or a specific project? Like, do you want to be in Star Trek, or do you want to do an album with Meatloaf, or anything like that?
Meatloaf would love to do an album with me. Come on. No, Meatloaf, man. Meatloaf's a legend. Wow. You know what? There never was a specific genre that I cared, you know, that much about. I really care about a good script, a good story, a really good character, because then it doesn't matter, the genre. I mean, if you can put all those pieces together, line them up, have a great director, have a studio who's going to release it well and spend the money to promote it and blah, 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 you got a chance. But there are certain kind of roles, yeah, that interested me way back when and interest me today, and they just kind of appear all of a sudden out of nowhere when you least expect it, you know. And it's not like it has to be a baker, a preacher, or this or that, or them. It's about who that person is inside, what they're trying to do with their lives, or what they're trying to avoid in their lives, or what they're trying to heal in themselves, or whatever the deal is, you know. And for me, it's always been, if I can relate to it, really relate to it, it's not just some piece of fluff, then you're going to be able to relate to it. Because if it's human, if it's truly human, it doesn't matter who's playing the character if they really go deep and touch something that's like in that character, you know, that human being. And so whether it's love or it's hate or it's fear or it's whatever the feeling might be, if you can capture that feeling, and that character could be in the future, in the past, contemporary, today, comedy, drama, sci-fi, horror, doesn't matter. You're gonna lock onto it, man. You're gonna lock onto it. So that's always been it for me. And I'm constantly in search of that thing that says, oh, that's me, that guy. I can play that guy, So.
Question right over here, right
Yes.
there.
Yes.
Hi, I ask this question all the time
Yes.
when I come here. Have you seen Rick and Morty? Do you have a favorite episode, and would you ever be on the show if asked?
Maybe I've seen it once. I don't have a favorite character, sorry. I like your pink hair. Yeah, if, with the right role. For me, it's always about that. If the role is right and the role says something that, again, as a human being, I can relate to, and I feel like, wow, there's something in that. Okay, there you go. I've just been sold Rick and Morty, folks. All right, I'm gonna do that now.
All right, Carl, staying on the same side, we've got another
Yes.
question right here.
Hello, Mr. Withers.
Hello.
In your early career after Rocky, and I would say early because it went way back, but after Rocky, you made an action film called Force 10 from Navarone with a young Harrison Ford. But you also was with heavyweights like Edward Fox, Franco Nero, and Robert Shaw. How was that, how you act with American actors and these great Shakespearean actors?
Wow. That film was loaded with talent. Yeah, a lot of Brits, a lot of continental Europeans, the whole idea being, I guess, kind of a sequel, to the Guns of Navarone, but it really wasn't. It was its own thing. It just had the Navarone sort of in the name. Richard Kiel, Barbara Bach, you said Franco Nero. There was so many. Eddie Fox, Robert Shaw. I think who else? There was a lot of talent in that, And that movie, if I remember correctly, I was there for 5 months on location in Europe, in different places when we did that. So that was a long one, man. And that's kind of like running a marathon. You gotta have done one or two of those before you know what you're getting into, because it takes it out of you, But if you look at that movie today, it's really a good-looking movie. What was his name? Peter, the director. I want to say Peter Hunt. I think that was his last name. He was an editor on, I think, some of the James Bond stuff. So it was really an amazing kind of cast of characters who were doing all kinds of stuff on that movie. And no, that wasn't Peter Hunt. No, what's that? Death Hunt was Peter Hunt. You're right. There you go. I knew there was a Peter Hunt in there. No, this was what's his name? He was an editor and a director on Bond also. Guy Hamilton. Good memory. Yeah. Were you with us on that movie? Oh, thanks a lot. You really make me old now. You were 7. Jeez, man. Guy Hamilton, right. That was a trek, because we were in Yugoslavia when it was still Yugoslavia, and Tito was still in charge there, and several locations, and then we were in Malta and the Isle of Jersey and in the UK. We were all over the place. But yeah, man, that was an interesting experience. I'd like to be able to do something like that today, because you really sort of understand the thing now. You know what I mean? It takes a little life and a little experience. Some young kid I think I was like 30-ish maybe. Sheesh. What do I know? But it was an interesting experience, I'll tell you that, dealing with all those personalities.
Okay, got time for 2 more questions. Got one right down
2
here.
more. Do I have to? I'm just teasing. Come on.
It's your time.
All right, we'll do this one first, and we'll let him have the last.
Yeah.
Mr. Weathers, thank you for coming, by the way. And I think you get all these questions about Apollo Creed, but it really was, I think, a quintessential part of making Rocky a success. Did you use Muhammad Ali as an inspiration for your role?
Well, first of all, I would never say use Muhammad Ali. Nobody could use Muhammad Ali. And I say that lovingly, man, because I got a chance to be around him a number of times, and you know, he was amazing. I mean, he really was. You know, people talk about it, but they're talking about stuff they see on TV and all of the, you know. He was amazing, and he was there was a sweet side to him that was, you know, like if you were the uncle to a nephew who was the sweetest kid in the world and who always kind of, you know, was digging you in the ribs, you know, that's kind of what Ali was like. I'm sorry, what was the question? Because all of a sudden,
Inspiration.
Yeah. It kind of was in the script, you know. I mean, you know, as the story goes, supposedly anyway, what the inspiration for the script was Wepner and Ali, and so it's kind of hard to dance around that without, you know, just going right to the source and saying, okay, what can I borrow from the greatest that ever was and the best showman that probably was ever in the fight game, and a lot of good showmen were there, but I mean, he always made things a spectacle. And how many people before Ali give a damn about fighting, about prize fighting? You know, I mean, come on, mostly men. And I remember when I was a little kid, my grandfather used to take me or we'd watch that Gillette stuff that was on Friday nights or whatever it was, you know. But I was never like a fan. But Ali made me a fan, you know. And then, of course, there were all the other great fighters that I watched film of. I mean, so many, it was ridiculous, you know? And they all sort of had something special back in the day when it was black and white TV, right? And that's more or less what you had for entertainment, visual entertainment at home. But Muhammad, again, because of his ability to create spectacle, drew people in who didn't care at all about boxing. They were just watching this crazy guy, you know, this fool make a fool of himself, and then he'd win. And now you go, whoa, wait a minute, I better look a little closer here, what's going on? And over the years, of course, you know, all the history there with, I mean, he was a humanitarian, he was an incredibly intelligent man. I mean, not well schooled, but intelligent, man. I mean, you know, if anybody's really interested, go on YouTube and look at some of the interviews that Ali did with all the great people at that time. This dude laid some gems down. I mean, you know, you watch it, you go, man, it's almost like he had a script and he prepared for this. And you can't prepare for it because you got somebody else sitting there who's throwing stuff at him, and he could work with him, man. I mean, work with the best, you know? So I borrowed so much stuff from him. And I became a true fan of his. I mean, a true fan, you know. Yeah, he was great in my opinion.
And one last question for you, Carl.
Yes.
You're going to head back to your table and sign a bit today?
I am.
Excellent. Last question. If you didn't have a chance for your question, but make sure and hang out. His table's right over there.
Well, first of all, congratulations on the Emmy nomination this year for The Mandalorian.
Thank you.
Second, how was your experience directing an episode of the show, and are you slated to direct anything in the upcoming season?
Well, you got to become my publicist, man.
He's good. He's good.
That's great. Well, directing. Let me start with, because you know, backstory is always a little good, and since this is my last one, I'm going to milk it. Okay. I started directing in '93, so a while ago, and there were all those great shows that were done by Cannell, Stephen Cannell, and a lot of them were done down in San Diego at a studio that somebody I really consider a friend, who's a really wonderful producer. He was producing them all, and I got a chance because I did a series in Canada that was a Cannell, you know, show, and wanted to direct, and so I finally got my chance. And then I went on, and I don't know how many hours of television, but I did easily 23, 25 hours of TV way back then, you know, and walked away from it all because I just got tired and moved to Washington State and started raising cattle. Long story, that's all I'm going to say, okay? Did that for 10 years and breeding cattle. And then finally, I'd spent so much money, it was time to go back to work because I'd spent it all on cattle and feeding them, right? So anyway, I went back and I, you know, started in front of the camera again and started directing again. Now it takes us to The Mandalorian because I'd done more stuff before that. When John introduced me to the idea that he was going to do this show, I had no idea what he was talking about, of course. Nobody did. But he's Directors Guild, I'm Directors Guild, be in a lot of meetings and stuff, and I hear John talk, and he's brilliant. I don't say that lightly. That dude is brilliant. And he asked me one day, you know, I'm doing this show, and, you know, I'd love to have you in it. You'd be interested? Jon Favreau? Yes, please. As the British say, yes, please, you know. So he told me about it, and then I went to the offices at the studio in what is it? I can't remember the name of the town. But anyway, it's not far from Venice and all the Playa del Rey and all that sort of stuff, you know. Manhattan Beach Studios. And I went into this room, which is a big conference room. This was, the walls were filled with posters, but not the same thing over and over. I mean like storyboard, filled with posters all around the perimeter of it. And I looked at it and went, whoa, this is incredible. And they were brilliant and they were beautiful. And these characters in this world and all this stuff they were creating, right? I'm on this. So originally I was supposed to do one episode. There's a whole thing that goes on with this one that's really fascinating because, and it's no secret, when John first talked to me about it, I was going to have this thing on my face, like a mask of some kind, and it was going to be a character, like one of the characters. Now, I didn't fall off the turnip truck yesterday. I fell off 3 weeks ago, so I knew a little something about something. And I never said anything, but I'm thinking to myself, because I know how things go. You know, if there's money to be made, don't screw it up. I mean, if you got Robert De Niro in a great drama, why are you going to not let people know it's Robert De Niro? They're going to go just to see Robert De Niro, not to see him with the mask on, right? Not that I'm saying I'm Robert De Niro, but I'm saying, hey, there's a few people that go to the movies because of me. Yeah, I get that, okay? So I'm just thinking, right, the whole time, and I never said anything to John. I'm thinking, this is not going to work. I mean, I really, you know, not that me playing this character in Mask wouldn't work, but this is not a smart idea. It's like killing off Apollo Creed. Why? I mean, you got to ask yourself, why? Get somebody else in a mask. If you're going to get Carl Weathers, you might want to let them see him. So one day, true story, man, I'm there in a meeting, and John, first of all, tells me, you know, I think maybe, would you be interested in doing more than one? Yes, please. And secondly, you know, I don't think we're going to do the, And I said to him, John, you're preaching to the choir, brother, because I thought the same thing. And we got what we got, you know? I mean, good for him that either he recognized it or somebody said, and probably Disney, because they don't miss a penny. If there's one to be made, man, they know how to make it, okay? So somebody in some meeting at some point came up with this idea and said, wait a minute here, we got something here. We got an asset. Let's not make him expendable. You know, let's make him an asset that we can get some dividends out of, right? And that's kind of how that whole thing happened. And so now we're gonna start a new season of The Mandalorian in the next month. Yeah. And I get to be in front of the camera again, and I get to direct again.
Awesome.
So I hope you all stay on the lookout for it. Watch it, support it, please, because I'm not just proud of my work. I'm really proud of the show and to be a part of it. You know, there are some things that, like, I have 2 sons who are probably older than you are. I'm serious, and I have 4 grandchildren now. Okay, so the beautiful thing about it is, for them, it's not about being an actor with me. That's Big Daddy. That's who I am. You know? Kind of chokes me up. But the work that I do, I want them to see something that they can be proud of. You know? And with The Mandalorian, it's one of those things, because kids can watch it. And I love that. I love that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Ladies
all
and
for
gentlemen,
coming. Thank you so much.
Mr. Carl Weathers, so awesome to have you here.
Hi, this is Michael Shanks, and you're watching Fandom Spotlight. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. The fate of the universe may depend on it. And have fun and follow your fandom.